have, have no idea how big a miracle that is. Just me starting on time. Of course, it's been the one thing I've been able to do that with. Welcome to A Course in Miracles.
Thank you.
Welcome to A Course in Miracles.
Thank you.
Yes. Can anybody who knows me today speak to me? Say hello.
Hello.
Nice
to see you again.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. Welcome those of you on Facebook Live all over the world that's want to hear what I also need to learn just as much as you do. You know, the Course in Miracles is, I don't know about you, but I could use a few miracles. I could use things that happen beyond what I believe is possible and what I believe. I could use some things that happen that's beyond what I think could happen. I'm okay with there being some things beyond what I think could happen. I would love to have some things happen that defy time, space, all the stuff that I've learned from the world. You know, in the 30 to this year be the 39th year since I started to study the Course in Miracles. And beside my family thinking I'm a very slow learner, focusing on one book for 4 decades. They don't realize that just because I breathed when I was 10, it doesn't mean I don't breathe right now too. At no point do I stop breathing as long as I'm here, and that's the way I feel about the truth. It's just like air to me, because I see it work. And so the Course in Miracles, we're going to talk about, we're going to be on Waking to Redemption, which is on page 207 in the Course in Miracles text. I'm Earl. And the Course in Miracles that's waking to love. So I'm only talking about, what two things? Love or fear. I like to say real love or fear. Real love or fear. Real love or fear. So what is the purpose of the Course in Miracles? The purpose of the Course in Miracles. What is the purpose of the Course in Miracles? What is the purpose of the Course in Miracles? To remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Do you know why we study the Course in Miracles? To release the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. I call myself Earl Purdy, DRT, the Divine Repetition Teacher. It's my official alphabets behind it, because the Course in Miracles constantly says throughout the entire book, don't forget, remember this. Don't forget, remember. Don't forget, remember. Don't forget, remember. Don't forget, remember. It says that all the way through. It doesn't say analyze, figure it out. Analyze, figure it out. Analyze, figure it out. And it says don't forget, remember. So I'm going to be most interested in us hearing what it's saying, whether we believe it or not. So the guideline, especially if you're here for the first time, is you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. You do not have to believe it. The Course in Miracles says you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas may startle you. Some of the ideas you might not believe. Surprise, right? Some of the ideas you may not believe. Some of the ideas you may not believe. Some of the ideas you may not believe. Some of the ideas you may not agree with. Some of the ideas you may not agree with. Some of the ideas you may not agree with. Some of the ideas you may not believe. That doesn't mean it's not true. And if you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas are true. If you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas are true. The Course in Miracles is only primarily talking about perception. It's talking about the way we see things. It's based on a very simple, profound premise. That you give everything you see all the meaning that it has to you. That you give everything that you see all the meaning that it has for you. I came in here because last week it was like 7 people. This is all I have to do to have a full class is come in here. I figured it out. That's all I have to do. If I come in here, then if I come in the sanctuary, it's a different ballgame. But the truth is, everybody's here that's supposed to be here.
That's right.
And it's okay to sit on the floor too. You don't have to sit in a chair if you're a floor person like me.
It's actually a perfect invitation.
Yeah. I was hoping somebody would take me up on it.
There's some chairs right here.
Yeah, so sit down, see what I'm saying? Yeah, now you got an instant chair. Okay, so those of you online, the same thing is true, that you need to remember that you don't need to believe it. So let me give you an example of what it's talking about. I'm gonna read a paragraph of it. And it says, if you're not asked to analyze the ideas at all, even though that's what we think we are supposed to do, is analyze. And I spoke at the Sunday service this morning, and it was a very interesting section that I covered. And it was talking about how a change is required in the life situations of those who are gonna practice the truth. Does there need to be a change in your life situation? And then the Course in Miracles says, actually, what's needed is a change of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get rid of everything and everybody. You don't have to move out of town. You can't get rid of all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the Course in Miracles says that what we really need is a change of mind. That is not, some people are asked to make radical changes. Like in my case, I was asked to move from Memphis to Denver. So I was asked to make a radical change 20 years ago when I came here. But most people don't. They are giving us a very, the first thing that needs to be changed, it says, was our attitude. It says the first thing that needs to be changed is your attitude. The next thing is to realize that whatever situation you're in right now, you're not there by accident. There's no accident. There's no such thing as an accident. And so whoever you with, that ain't no accident. Whatever's in your bank account is not an accident. It's more like a tragedy. Some of that may not be true. You may be reeking with paper strips and metal discs, as the Course calls money. The Course in Miracles calls money paper strips and metal discs. And then I added to that plastic. Now we can add digits, right? Yeah, you don't even see money a lot of times, right? So that just goes to show you how it's just made up. You know what I'm saying? So the Course in Miracles says, so you're not where you are by accident. It's probably going to be a slowly evolving program, and that you have your own spiritual path that nobody else has. It's exactly like you. So you got your own curriculum, your own spiritual path. It's like nobody else's path. That's why the purpose of the Course in Miracles is to get you to go inside to your own inner guidance, not try to follow somebody externally yourself. So I'm not trying to be anybody's leader. I'm much too lazy for that. I never want to be, it'd be like trying to herd cats. I think I'll pass on that, right? But you do have your own individual path. You can tell when you're on it because you feel lighter. The longer you stay on it, you feel more happy, you feel more inspired, and things actually get easier. Okay, those are little hints that you can tell. Now, those of you who believe no pain, no gain, then if you're in pain, you should feel happy. Okay, so therefore, have your pain because you believe you need it to gain. So don't be upset when things are struggle, right? And then the Course says the other thing is you have to recognize that you're in a slowly evolving training program in which you're working on forgiveness in relationships. And by forgiveness, it means having the correct perception of relationships. Forgiveness doesn't mean I'm trying to overlook what I think you really did to me. The Course Miracle, it says that no, true forgiveness is when you recognize right here, right now, nobody's doing anything to you at all. There's nothing to forgive because in this moment, I don't care what happened with my mom or father, what happened in my childhood, it's not happening in this moment. So therefore, there's nothing for me to forgive unless I want to keep running it over and over again in my mind so that I can stay miserable right now. Right? Because I hate myself so much I don't think I deserve to be happy, so I just think of the stuff that make me feel like crap all day. And so that's why I change from one thing to another because my purpose remains the same, to suffer.
Yes.
So I just come up with a variety of ways to suffer, and I call that creativity. I'm very creative. First it was my money, now it's my relationship, now it's my job, now it's my health, now it's my sex life. What's sex life?
That's why you're paying.
So the Course in Miracles says that when you really get smart, the thing that you're going to start to recognize more than anything else is that you're going to give up your own judgment based on the fearful things you learned in the past, and you're going to start asking your higher power for its solution and its answer. So the definition from a Course in Miracles perspective is a smart person is a person that turns to a higher power within themselves. That's a smart person. The dumb person is the one that still keep trying to make it up as they go along, feeling miserable, they staying miserable, feeling like they're victim, blaming everybody else for what they're going through, and angry all the time because nobody's acting out their script. Doesn't sound like somebody I'd like to go on a date with.
No.
Right? So we can join in the suffering. together. We call that a good conversation that night.
Yeah.
They told me all the things that was messed up about them. I told them, So the Course in Miracles is saying that the world trains us to just trust our judgment above all else, and the truth teaches us to trust our higher powers guide us above all else. So I'm gonna go over one paragraph, and then we're gonna go back through it and hear what it said. We just want to hear what it said first, okay? Take a breath, please. Please.
Peace.
It is impossible not to believe what you see. It's impossible not to believe what you see. It's impossible not to believe what you see. But it's equally impossible to see what you do not believe. It's impossible to see what you do not believe. Perceptions are built up on the basis of experience. Perceptions are built up on the basis of experience. And experience leads to beliefs. Your experience leads to beliefs. Experience leads to beliefs. Experience leads to beliefs. It is not until your beliefs are fixed. It is not until your beliefs are fixed that perception stabilize. That perception stabilize. In effect then, what you believe you do see. What you believe you do see. What you believe you do see. What you believe, that is what I meant when I said. That is what I meant when I said. Blessed are ye who have not seen and still believe. Blessed are ye who have not seen and still believe. Blessed are ye who have not seen and still believe. For those who believe in the resurrection will see it. That means those who believe in the love shall see it. The resurrection is the complete triumph of Christ over the ego, which means the resurrection is the complete triumph of love over fear. The resurrection is the complete triumph of your true self over your false self. Not by attack. You're not going to overcome your ego or the ego by attack. It says, but by transcendence. You're going to go beyond your fear. You're going to go beyond your lack. You're going to go beyond your sickness. You're going to go beyond your conflict. You're going to go beyond your guilt. You're going to go beyond it. You're not going to attack it. You're going to do what? You're going to go beyond it. Then it says, the Christ, which is your true self, your love self, does seek to rise above the ego. Your true self seeks to rise above your false self. And all of your false self's works and ascends to the Creator and to the Creator's reality. Say that one more again. Your love self wants to rise above your fear self and all of its works, and ascends to the Creator, which is love. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He sounds like a person that's in love with the sound of his own voice. The Course says love everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna love my voice. So it's impossible not to believe what you see. So if you're seeing me, you probably believe I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
It's real hard to believe what you don't see. So the Course says impossible not to believe what you see. So if I see a lot of anger, guilt, grievances, fear, and separation, I'm gonna believe it.
Yes.
And then it says, because it's equally impossible to see what you don't believe. So if I don't believe I deserve love, if I don't believe I deserve peace, if I don't believe I deserve abundance and friends and cool people, then I don't see it. So it's impossible to see what you don't believe. It's impossible to see what you don't believe, which means everything you're seeing is what you believe. So you know what you believe because it's what you're seeing. So to say you're seeing anything in the world but you don't believe it based on this is completely not true. Because you wouldn't be seeing it if you didn't believe it, according to this, that we don't have to believe. According to the Course in Miracles. And then it says, Perceptions are built up on the basis of your experience. So your experiences build up your perceptions. And do you know the Course in Miracles says a perception is your interpretation. A perception is an interpretation. So you could say your interpretations are built up on the basis of your experience. So do you know that this means that everything you are experiencing is based on the way you're interpreting it? And you're only experiencing love or fear or peace or conflict. So that's coming from what? My perceptions. And what are my perceptions? My interpretations. So how you're feeling right now is coming from how you're interpreting this moment with me right now. If you feel uncomfortable, it's because that's your interpretation of the experience. If you feel comfortable, it's because that's your interpretation of the experience. So perceptions come from experience, and then it's your experiences that lead you to what you believe. That's the circle. My experiences lead me to what I believe. If I have the experience of what cake tastes like, I really believe I know what cake tastes like. The experience leads to my beliefs. I've experienced fear, so I believe in it. I experienced what appears to be separation, so I believe in it. So when your beliefs become fixed, that means you just think it's the way you think it is. He says, what happens at that point is your perception stabilizes. So all of a sudden things start to look, for instance, let me give you a good example. I have a fixed belief that this is a chair. So when I walk into a room, I don't wonder if this is a chair anymore. My beliefs have stabilized around this. So in my experience of thinking, I know what it feels like to sit in a chair, right? So everything that I'm experiencing is based on my past. Everything I believe in is based on my past experience, and my past experience is leading to my beliefs at the same time. So one of the things that's a challenge for people who are unhappy, who say they want to be happy, is that at the beginning, they have to tell themselves things that they don't believe. You know, and since we already experienced it, telling other people stuff we don't believe, applying it to ourselves should not be hard. Don't tell me you can't say stuff you don't believe. You do it all the time. You do it all the time. But when the spiritual book says say something you don't believe, then all of a sudden we have so much integrity. Right? All of a sudden, I cannot say that I can't say this unless I believe it. There's plenty of stuff you say that you don't believe. You know, sometimes when you say you're a wonderful, loving person, you don't believe it. Sometimes you tell somebody else they're cool and you can't stand them. So we can totally say what we don't believe. So the book says say what you don't believe. And then it says, in effect, then, if you want to reduce it, it says, just remember what you believe. I love this. What you believe, you do see. What you believe, you do see. So I believe, whatever I see is what I do believe. And that's what I meant when I say blessed are you who haven't seen and still believe. He says, those who believe in the resurrection, which is the reawakening to who we really are, those who believe in love will see it. Those who believe in love will see it. Those who believe in the truth will see it. Those who believe in fear, anger, guilt, and grievances will see it. So a person who has a loving perception of reality literally lives in a world that's totally different from a person that's totally looking at everything through the eyes of fear. So when you tell a person who believes in fear and separation about how cool and loving people are who believe in unity and oneness, they think you're kidding. They don't even think a person like that even exists. And I share with people all the time, I'm surrounded by people who people say don't exist.
Amen.
That's my regular reality. And so the Course says, if you believe in the resurrection, you will see it. So what is the resurrection? It's the complete triumph of Christ, which the Course defines as your one true self, that's united with everything, over the part of you that thinks it's separate. So I want the part of me that knows my oneness with you to win over the part of me that thinks I'm separate from you. I want the part of me that believes in my innocence and my beauty and my power to rule over the part of me that believes in my weakness or my insecurity or separation. That's all that means. It's not as deep as it sounds. The resurrection, and there's nothing wrong with having a great resurrection. Y'all giving that all the meaning that it has for you.
Amen.
That's right. That's right. That was a good example of the lesson right there. How all of us react to in different ways to the same thing, right? All of us do, right? And then we think our interpretation should be the interpretation that rules out over everybody else's. So most people, when they're trying to correct you, they're trying to correct you based on the sense that they believe in and the belief system that they believe in, which is really funny. Correcting you is getting you to look at it the way I do. So you can see the fault in that. especially if you're not a really happy person. Happy people are not want nobody to be like them. Unhappy people to want anybody to be like them. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. Please don't be like me. Don't be like me. I don't want to be right. I want to be wrong about everything I'm telling myself. I'm unhappy. But that's when people tend to feel the most self-righteous. It's when they're angry and upset. I wouldn't be upset about nothing. You always upset about nothing. And the Court says Christ does rise above the ego, love does rise above fear, and all this works. So you can rise above all your problems, all your conflicts. You can rise above them. That's the first paragraph. That's one paragraph. That's one paragraph of the Course in Miracles. Any thoughts, any comments about that particular paragraph?
So this, I always love when I come and immediately Spirit starts speaking to me. And so I've been grappling with a situation in my own life where fear and love are existing in the same place. And the question is, and my question has been, how do I not see, right? Because it's in my vibration, so I have to stop believing that exists in order for it to disappear. And so it was very powerful for me, first of all, to hear this, but what really stood out for me was it's not by attacking it, but transcending it. So it's like getting above it. So it's not by trying to make it not exist in my experience. It's about getting to the place that it existing in my experience doesn't bother me.
That's the lesson we all have to learn.
Yeah.
See, most people don't realize is that when you come up with your plan for your life, that you really only coming up with that because if you really had faith in your higher power and your higher self, you wouldn't have to make up any plans. Plans are what people do who think they're taking care of themselves. So what a conscious being is doing is allowing themselves to get the block out of the way to hearing the plan that they're being given. Then they carry out the plan, but somebody looking at them would think they're planning, but they're not. They're doing what they were told to do.
Right.
So there are people who live by guidance, and then the people who live by making it up as they go. And those are usually your control freaks. Okay, because now they want everybody to act out the role they're assigned to them in the play that they've written for how their life should be. That's deep, isn't it? Anybody else? Megan?
I was just gonna say, I can see like all the small ways this can play out so much in the day-to-day, like even like waking up late and then deciding because of that it's gonna be a bad day. And I don't realize how much the rest of my day is where I'm just selectively seeing the things that are validating the belief I created when I woke up. And so it's like I created that belief, and now all of a sudden every stoplight is now like living proof of what I've decided.
That's
and
right.
I don't recognize that it's that backwards approach where I've decided and now that's what's happening.
I love that. Thank you. The Court says we get up in the morning to decide how we're going to, and the first thing we do is decide how we're going to deceive ourselves again today. I thought that was so funny, because we come up with what we think has to happen, you know.
So I woke up this morning, I'm all excited, I'm packing the dogs up and I'm coming here, and I get to my car and someone has hit it. And I was like, I don't have any tape, I have nothing, and I'm knocking on all the neighbors, I don't know any of these people down there, knocking on, nobody's answering, I'm like, where the hell is everybody? It's Sunday. So anyway, this nice lady goes, do you need help? I said, I need tape. And so she gets me some tape, and the whole way here I was just like, trying to overcome this. I was pissed, like, why wouldn't you just put a note or whatever? I've got a deductible, I gotta deal with all this shit. And it was just like, and then I was like, I got here and we're talking about this and it's exactly what I needed to hear. It's exactly what I needed to experience. I'm okay. Nobody got hurt. The door's taped shut.
Yeah, and the only thing that's upsetting you right now is remembering what happened in the past, my car got hit.
Yeah.
And then what I might have to deal with about it tomorrow.
And what it also brought up is having to do this right now by myself, and I don't have anybody to help me, and it brought up all of those tapes.
Yeah.
Right.
All the past, all
Right.
that stuff, and I was like,
Right.
this little old lady gave me tape.
Yeah.
Like little lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the weather is pretty cool today.
Yeah.
You could think that too, I guess. You know, but
Yeah.
it's no way to get around it. If
Yeah.
I'm upset, I'm thinking about the past or the future.
Yeah.
There's just no way to get around it.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody will say. If you tell me what you're upset
Yeah.
about, You telling me about something you anticipating or something that's already happened.
Or
Because
does it?
and because at this moment we're sitting here in this room perfectly safe.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so if you see anything other than that, you're interpreting rather than reporting.
Right.
Reporting is I'm sitting in the room. There are people that surrounding me as I speak the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Notice like how news reporters used to do. That's the way you're actually supposed to do about your whole life. Like the news reporter when I was growing up didn't say, I can't stand that politician. They would just go, so-and-so today said before Congress, everybody's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so, but they didn't give you their opinion of it. Right? And that's how you're supposed to go through life, where you're just reporting to yourself what's going on, but not give your interpretation of it to the point that you would give yourself conflict or you give yourself peace about it, right? So then the Course in Miracles asks a very cool question. It says, would you join with the resurrection or the crucifixion? Would you join with the joining or the separation? Would you join with the love or the fear? Would you join with the abundance or the lack?
Yes.
The Course in Miracles says a miracle is a state of completion and
Right.
abundance. It's right there in the book, abundance. And then Spirit says, if you will let me handle the trivial things in your life, then the trivial things are all the day-to-day things you worry about, then that would free you up to focus in on your spiritual awakening and changing your consciousness. Which makes a whole lot of sense to me. My real self knows what kind of pants I like. So if I ask it to choose my wardrobe, then I can focus in on how to realize that I want to rise above any fear in me and let go of every block around that and work on changing my consciousness. Let the universe make the kind of agreement like they do when you're on scholarship, when they say to you, you keep your grades up, we'll take care of your room and board. That's the same agreement the universe has with us. Focus on your spiritual awakening, forgiving, learning how to love, getting rid of your blocks, and I'll take care of everything else. But since I don't believe that, then I hustle and I work and I sweat and I think I'm alone and I got to struggle. Because the Course says the definition of an atheist from a Course in Miracles perspective is anyone who thinks they are alone, not somebody who just said they don't believe in God. Who cares whether you believe in God? Certainly God wouldn't. So it's not a big deal. So you can carry your flag and how you think this is BS and great, who cares?
But if you really believed it, you would see God everywhere.
And it's exactly right. You will see what you do believe, but at first you have to tell yourself what you don't believe, which is why I think it starts out saying you need not believe these ideas. Because then I at least let myself hear it. But if I think I'm coming here and this guy's trying to convert me, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to sit up here defensive. But then I know that in that case, if you want to hang on to it, then this is not for you. That's all. That's all it means. No harm, no foul. I'm not for everyone. You really want to have some cool relationships, recognize you're not for everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to like you. There are a lot of people who can tell you that, you know what I'm saying? So the Course says, do you want to join with the resurrection or the crucifixion? Do you want to join with the love or the fear? That means, would you condemn me or would you set me free? Would I condemn you or would I set you free? So the Course in Miracles interpretation of condemnation is whether or not I'm going to join with you in love, I'm going to join with you in fear. Like it says, would you condemn your brothers of freedom? So condemnation is not freeing you. So if I love you, I free you. But really, if I love you, I just recognize you're already free. I really don't have the ability to free you. It's ludicrous to think you can free anybody. Even though we're taught that way, so we think we understand what it's saying. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't free my partner. I can't free my kid. They're already free. But but if I condemn you, I limit you. So it says, would you transcend your prison and ascend to the Father? Would you transcend fear and ascend to love? These questions are all the same. These questions are answered together. He says, there has been much confusion about what perception means. There's been a lot of confusion about what it means by perception. So what does that mean? It means that the word is used for both awareness, I perceive, or the interpretation of awareness, which is what I said earlier. Perception is what I perceive and my interpretation of what I perceive. Yet you can't be aware without perception and interpretation. Being aware means I am interpreting. Being aware means I am an interpreter. So I'm interpreting all of you right now. And the interpretation that I want to give is that you are equals and that we are all the same and we're all extended from love and we're created by love, and I'm going to interpret you as innocent, even if you don't always remember that you are, and that you're responsible for your experience because you're the one who determines how you see it, and that you're a child of God, which means you have infinite creative power that you may not be aware of. And I'm interpreting that you're not a victim and that you live by grace and you deserve to be loved and corrected no matter what you do.
Yes, we are.
Okay, that's what y'all. Is that cool?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Now, if you don't believe you deserve that, then you see what I just said is I'm a bunch of crap. Okay, the more I say things opposite of what you believe, it would be your temptation to doubt my sincerity. So a lot of times I don't show people as much appreciation as I'd like to show them. Because when they reach a certain point of your appreciation, they think that you're just full of stuff. And they'll say, you reached their limits, oh, you just jabbed me. Now, you told me I was cute 5 times, now I'm 6 times, now what you want? What's something you want? I know what it is. And I know those of you who think you're ladies, you've never had that experience, right? Where you felt like a guy had an agenda or an ulterior motive when he approached you, right? It's like, so what I'm saying is strange. But that would be your interpretation of him based on your past experience.
Right.
And so you would probably end up either seeing it that way or making it that way. So that you'll be right.
That's right.
You know, so even the person started out different from your old boyfriend. By the time you got through looking at him as your old boyfriend, he'll be delivering the same message to you. Or girlfriend, you know. They'll be telling you something other than that you were free, which is what somebody that loves you would say. You're free. That's deep. That's deep. So the Course in Miracles says you can't be aware without interpretation because what? He says the same thing again. What you perceive is your interpretation. What you're seeing right now is your... Some of you would interpret me as a black man or an African American man or man. That's your interpretation of me. That's not what I am. What I am cannot be seen. Because this is too limited of a perception of who we are. You're so much bigger than your body that your body can only contain your ego, and your ego is almost too big for it.
What a conundrum.
What a conundrum. You know, my real self can't fit in my body, my ego too big for it, right? So what does that mean? It means that this body is a medium of communication. It's a learning device. It's the way I communicate with you. You know that's true because you see it happening. See, don't, like the Course says, there's the simplicity is very difficult for a twisted mind, is what it says. So the simpler it is, the more elusive it becomes. But what could be more obvious than the body actually being a means of communicating with each other? Because that's what we do with it. And what could be more obvious than the body is a learning device? And so therefore, what we are is not the speaker. You know, like the speaker behind me is not originating anything that's coming through it. No. But see, I've fallen in love with some juicy speakers in my life. I've been looking at some Bose speakers. And then later on, I get up and then want a noise canceling speaker. A speaker with no, you know. So I am not this luscious chocolate body y'all looking at right now. No. This is my speaker. Okay.
Black speaker.
Hey. I am not a black speaker. I'm free. Still as God created me. The Course in Miracles says one of the ways we ended up in hell, which is what it defines the world of fear as being. A world that we can be in, that people can go to church and then the bomb blows up the church. Right. The Course is saying the place that you can lose somebody you love anytime, any place, a place where anything could happen to you. He says, what the hell you think that is but hell?
Yeah.
Y'all think y'all going, y'all there. You're already in it. You got to cross Colfax Avenue. You got to get to the other side. Think about it. Again, it's just so simple. We're in a place that we're afraid of each other, that we feel separate from each other, that we try to get a few little relationships, that we smother to death if we're insecure and worried about how we're going to pay our bills and whether or not, think about it. Another country going to attack us or just the Course says this is a place that all we do is try to come up with ways to avoid catastrophic outcomes. And then wonder where we are. He says, you're in hell. You're in a fearful perception. This is the world you see when you think you're separate from each other and separate from God. This is the world you see when you're no longer loving yourself and feeling innocent about yourself and you're suspicious and you're fearful. This is the perception that you experience when you think you're separate from love. It's not complicated. And he says, do you like what you're experiencing, or are you willing to instigate some new types of perceptions and behaviors that would give you another perception? So the Course in Miracles says to us, these questions are the same. The word, he says, this Course is perfectly clear. I love this line. I got to get to this one. It says, this Course is perfectly clear. Perfectly clear. Perfectly clear. If you do not see the Course in Miracles clearly, do you know that it says if you don't see the Course in Miracles clearly, it's because you're interpreting against it. You're listening to me right now and you're coming up with everything you can think of that contradicts what you hear me say. He says you're interpreting against it. Oh, it couldn't be true. You're more than your body. What you talking about? There's somebody that's really done something to me. You see, I'm interpreting against it. And then it's Course in Miracles says, and therefore do not believe it. So when I don't believe something, what does it mean? It just means I'm interpreting against it. When I say I don't believe you love me, I'm interpreting against you loving me. I'm interpreting against what you're saying as being sincere. I'm interpreting against my abundance. I'm interpreting against my peace. Whenever I'm upset, I'm interpreting against relationship. When I feel alone, he says, you're interpreting against it. You're perceiving against it. And since belief determines perception, since your beliefs determine what you see, since your beliefs determine what you see, you don't see what the Course means because your beliefs determine what you see and you're interpreting against it, so you don't see that it means what it says. And therefore, it means you don't accept what it says. Wow. Yet, different experiences lead to different beliefs. So how does a person get to different beliefs? They start giving themselves different experiences. See, I want to give myself a different experience of you. I want to give myself the experience of peace with each and every one of you so I know exactly how to help bring that about the fastest. You want to know? I'll be peaceful myself.
That's right.
Be what you want to have. 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 You want to have a peaceful, loving, conscious person that's spiritual, that's hot. Be one. Right? It says be what you want to have. Be what you want to have. So the minute I want to experience something, I just become it. And every time I become it, I attract it to me. That's a good deal. That's a lot easier than me trying to change you for me to have it. Right? And so the Course in Miracles says different experiences lead to different beliefs, and then you have what? Different perceptions. So as soon as I have a different belief, so if I have a different belief, a different experience of my mama, for example, then if I have a different experience of my mama, that's going to lead me to a different belief about my mama, and therefore I'll have a different perception of my mama. The spiritual truths apply to all things. There are no exceptions. You can apply it to a parking space as quick as you can, cosmic enlightenment. There is no order of hierarchy and illusion. So these are universal laws that you can apply to anything. If I want a different perception of a person, I have to give myself a different experience of that person. I give myself a different experience of that person by the interpretation I'm giving myself about that person. And I'm the one that's giving my interpretation of you all the meaning that it has for you. So all I have to do is tell myself something different about you and be willing to pause and experience you in a new way, and I'll see another you that I've never seen before.
That's right.
We're just that powerful. Either you will change or I'll be so centered. I don't care if you change because you cannot affect my peace. That's my goal. See, my goal is to get to the point that nobody affects my peace.
Me too.
And what I found is the more I let go of my scripts for everybody else, first of all, the more it seems like they're acted out by the people who want to do them. And so, if I want to drink of water, I'm okay if it comes in a purple cup instead of a green one. So if you really want love, you'll be willing for love to come to you through anybody that's willing to let love come through them to you. If you want love. Now, if you caught up on, I'm only going to be into people who have polka dot hair, now you have made the form more important than the content, and then you can get somebody with polka dot hair that's a fool. I know she's crazy, but have you seen that butt?
Yeah.
Crazy about.
I know you've never chosen a person based on how they look, and that's why you're all looking at me this way, because you're enlightening, and you can't just even, everybody's like, what? The way they look? What do you mean? I love it. I love it. Yeah. I judge by appearance. People don't even know me and they think they know me. I tell people all the time, I wish I was having half the fun people think I'm having. All the stuff Earl is doing, I went, who? What Earl? Which one? Let me see if I can find him. Because he's doing a lot more than I'm doing. Because once you start choosing for peace, you stop doing 90% of the stuff you're doing. Because that was what was causing the peace, the lack of peace. Or either you change your mind about it and you feel so innocent that you draw people to you that you can have that experience with safely and unity and oneness. That's a good, you don't lose with that either way it goes. You won. You won. I want love. I want love to come to me through the perfect person is the person that's truly giving it. And if it's love, they're going to be gorgeous to me no matter what their body looks like. They're going to be gorgeous to me no matter what their body looks like. They're going to be gorgeous to me no matter what their body or my body looks like if it's love.
That's right.
If it's love, if it's love, if it's love, no matter what you look like, the person won't see nothing in front of them but beauty.
Woohoo. Thank you.
Nice.
So then you won't worry about getting old,
That's right. That's right.
thinking you're going to lose your appeal because you don't look like you did when you were 20. Like people tell me, age just a number. I say, I know I'm not doing what I could do at 15. So you can say that if you want to, too. And it might be true, but I haven't reached that level of enlightenment. And the Course in Miracles says one day you will reach a level of enlightenment that is so powerful and so true that you won't even need food. You won't even need water. You won't even need anything. There are people that are breatharians right now, the people who don't eat and just live off of air.
Oh, wow.
That's got to be great when you don't have no money. It's like spirituality is practical. It's really practical. Will cut down on your King Super Deal, Safeway, all that stuff. You know. Invite people over. I can see it now. Invite people over. Say, everybody sit around the table and I say, now take a deep breath.
And get rich.
Anybody want to help me clear the table? Because we just got through dinner. What? That was, yeah, I'm telling you, that was, you know, that was a breath casserole over there. And then hail burger.
Sounds good.
It smells good. Not to mention the dishes, you know what I mean? Everybody be glad to help you with the dishes. You know. That's the truth. We are more than what we think we are. We're more than what we think we are. We're more than what we think we are. We are more than what we think we are, and we didn't create ourselves. We're more than what we think we are, and we didn't create ourselves. We're more than what we think we are, and we didn't create ourselves. We were created. We were created. You were created. You were created. You were created. You were created. And the same thing that created you is the same thing that knows what would make you happy. If you really considered the results of you being your own teacher, you would resign as your own teacher. Just be honest for a minute, the Course says. And then the Course says, now the Course is perfectly clear. If you don't see it clearly, it's because you're interpreting against A Course in Miracles, and therefore do not believe A Course in Miracles. And since your belief determines your perception, you do not perceive what the Course in Miracles means, and therefore you do not accept what the Course in Miracles says, yet your different experiences will lead to different beliefs, and with different beliefs you have different perceptions because your perceptions are learned with beliefs, and your experience does teach you. And I'm having more and more experience of love, so it's teaching me that love is real. And the more I believe it's real, what? I see it more. The more I see it, the more I believe it, and then the more I see it, then the more I believe it, and then you start having accelerating acceleration. And that's what you want on your spiritual path. It's not supposed to go like that. It's supposed to go like that. Speed up. And the same thing is true. I criticize and condemn and hate everybody, so everybody looks like they criticize and condemn me, which makes me believe that I'm worse than I thought I was. And so then I see it more, and then I believe it more, and so then you do what they call the downward spiral. So in the beginning, you got to be willing to introduce yourself to people and things that are actually opposite to the truth you believe about yourself. So try to hang out with people who inspire you, who in a way you wish you were more like, but without comparing yourself to them so that you feel insecure. because you need to see they exist. And then what? Because you had the experience of a cool person, you believe cool people exist, which will make you see more cool people, which will make you believe more cool people. And it accelerates like that. But in the beginning, you got to go against that part of your mind that tells you to be suspicious of everything and everybody because of what you experienced in the past with somebody else. What even me? I can kind of see an old partner going, I don't know if I want to go on this ride one more time. You know what I'm saying? Because that was me that they were with. You know what I'm saying? But when you were that way about somebody that you weren't even with before, that's really judging them by somebody else. That's not fair. It's not fair to look at me in terms of the guys you've been with before. Even though if you were attracted, you should check that out. You know, that's a good hint that your pattern might be up again. Why? Because you were attracted to him. Crickets. You can hear the crickets, can't you? Right? And so the Course in Miracles says, I am leading you. What is, the Course says, I am leading you. The Jesus of the Course says, I'm leading you. I'm leading you where? I'm leading you to a new kind of experience that you become less and less willing to deny. So that's what you would say to somebody that you were entered into a relationship with. You would go, I would like to lead you to a new kind of experience that you will become less and less willing to deny. I'm going to give you a new type of love and sanity and consciousness that's consistent that you will be less and less ready to deny. And guess what? Learning of Christ, learning of love is easy. So if I'm learning of love, it's easy. Learning of love is easy. And to proceed with love involves no strain at all. So to proceed with your true self, of course it says, it's not no strain to proceed with truth. To proceed with happiness is no strain. It's a pleasure. It's a healing. To look at you with joy is not a strain. That's cool, right? And so it says, love's perceptions are your natural awareness. So you naturally see things in a loving, freeing, innocent way. When you're seeing in a loving way, that's actually you being natural. So when someone says, oh, you seem like you're this really cool person, yeah, so I'm just being natural. I'm just being, what are you saying? We were born loving beings who learn insane lessons. Your true nature is really cool and loving. You see it with little kids all the time. They come here and they be playing with each other and they don't care what race they are or nothing like that until we get hold to them. Right? You know, because they naturally want to be inquisitive and open and loving. That's us. You know, people, babies are so innocent. You are innocent too. Babies scream with outrage when they don't get it the way they want it. You scream in outrage when you don't get it the way you want. We all babies. We all pooping. We all want God to clean our diaper and change it. That's right, we are. If you were to look at yourself as a little child, you would get more help. Because a little child knows that they don't understand what nothing means. And then they come to the adults so that they can get an accurate perception of what's going on. And you tell a little child, this is the color yellow. They don't argue with you if they don't know what it is. They just say, yellow, yellow. That's not us. We ask questions with answers already in our mind, looking for the person to validate what we've already decided it is. And if they don't, then we disagree, which means we didn't ask an honest question because we already had some idea of what they should have said before we even asked the freaking question. That's the way adults ask questions, is to restate their point of view. So they'll act like they're asking you a question, but they really just want to let everybody hear the way they look at things. Right? So the Course in Miracles says, and love's perceptions are your natural awareness, and it's only the distortions that you introduce that's making you tired. So what's making a person tired? My own distorted misperceptions. That's what has me feeling energetically drained and tired, is the way I see things. The way I see things is making me feel so tired. He says, that's why you are tired. It's your distorted, fearful perceptions that's making you tired and drained. Yeah. Wow. Whoa. Which you don't have to believe, which you don't have to accept, and you don't have to welcome. Don't forget. Don't forget the rule. He says, let the Christ, which is your true self, your loving self, in you, interpret for you. So I want the same part of me to start interpreting what's going on all day, not my insane ego that's full of guilt and fear. So I don't want the crazy, fearful part of Earl to be telling him what's going on all day. I want the part of Earl that believes he's innocent and loving and cool and connected to tell Earl what's going on. I want the loving me to describe you to me. I don't want my insecure me to describe you to me. photography is my hobby, and sometimes I'll take pictures of people and they'll look at it and they'll go, I can't believe I look this good. You know, really. They'll go, what happened? Did you put on a filter or something like that? And I go, no. I just let you see how you look through my eyes. This is how you look to me, and this is the way I can show you. You know, sometimes I know people that I've taken pictures of for 20 or 30 years, and they'll look back at pictures, especially my female friends, they'll look back at pictures when they were in their 20s, and they'll go, my God, I was hot. And I say, yeah, but I was back there with you, and you were criticizing her, saying that she wasn't pretty enough, or she wasn't looking, you know, and now you're looking at her and you go, my God, I was gorgeous. Just do it now, don't wait 20 years later. Plus that body isn't you anyway. It almost feels weird to me when I look at somebody's body and compliment them and I say, you look pretty. It would be more accurate to say your communication device is really awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got that communication device. Handle. That would be a much more accurate perception, because that's what I'm looking. You're looking at my communication device. Who I am is invisible, and who you are is invisible. And you'll see it, the oneness of our minds, if you think about that just for a minute. If we're not these bodies, all of a sudden we must be the one, whatever it is that we don't see. And all of a sudden we can feel our oneness with each other. As soon as we get that, the only reason why we have bodies is because we wanted to have the experience of what it would be like to think that we were separate from each other. Because if you want to be separate, you have to have something to be separate in. And that's what the body is. It's your vehicle to experience separation. Now, so once you realize you're not it, and you forgive yourself, and you feel like you're innocent and connected to Source, then you begin to fulfill your function, which is to be happy here. And you will be given all the support from the invisible that allow you to be happy, so that you can be a living demonstration of the kind of wonderful life a person leads when they're awake and in tune. So then you become the light of the world, because you show people what your life can be like when you love yourself and you're allowing your spiritual creator to love you. That's your function. You know, and nothing is more depressing than you supposed to be the example of the one thing that you can't do, because if you're here to demonstrate joy and you've been depressed since 1979, then, you know, you feel like you're not real good at your particular purpose. So then that's where the spiritual curriculum comes in, because that curriculum helps to correct your thinking and remove the blocks to that happiness that you are innately, and that loving being that you are innately. You don't have to put love in you. You are love covered up. And then when you get your act together, you will be what? Heaven a la mode.
All right.
That's what you will be. And then the more you love the person, the more beautiful they look to you. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier than we make it. And so the Course says, let the love in you interpret for you. That's the Christ. Do not try to limit what you see. So how do you limit what you see? He says, well, the way you limit what you see is by having narrow little beliefs. Now, how many books describe something like that? Look, what's up with your beliefs? Your beliefs look pretty narrow there, Purdy. You got some narrow, not just regular little beliefs, but you got narrow little beliefs. You got anorexic beliefs. And that are unworthy of you. You have narrow little beliefs that are unworthy of you. And the Course in Miracles says that's how you limit people. It's by having what? Beliefs that are unworthy of that person and of you. Very simple. Very simple. Then it says, for until Christ, which is the true self, comes into its own, the child of God will see themselves as fatherless and without a creator. I will never know my creator as long as I hate myself, fear myself, see myself as guilty and alone, and cut off from love. Because that which created me is love. And if I'm interpreting against that, then I won't see love. Not only will I not see love, I'll doubt it when it shows up. Yeah. How can you tell when you're beginning to love something? When you're beginning to love it, all you have to do is you'll give it 100% attention. All you have to do to feel love for somebody is just give them your attention without thinking about what you're going to say next. And there's this energy that will come through you. And you will begin to see the beauty in them just from being present, not trying to think of what you're going to say to them next. So thank you for listening to this much today. I'm telling you. Wow. Wow. So I'm gonna do a quick little 5-minute recap of this, and let's do the love offering right now.
I'll go get it.
I want to thank you for sharing with me as a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. I love this. You can have some miracles that will blow your mind with this. Those of you online, if you'd like to support my teaching ministry, you can go to earlpurdy.com, www.earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y. And you can also use Venmo. And my email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. And thank you. Those of you who feel like you are receiving something of value and you want to share a financial expression of appreciation, thank you very much. Those of you who do not, thank you very much. Because there's nothing that happens to me that I don't ask for. Is the way I look at things, even though I don't always like that statement. You know, liking the truth has no effect on whether or not it's true.
That's right.
That's another interpretation, you know. And there's a part of me that sometimes forgets that I am sustained by the love of God. And that's when I think it's power, fame, money, physical pleasure, influence, prestige. Who do I like? Who knows me? And I think it's all that other stuff that's taking care of me. That's when I know I've forgotten my connection to God, because I'm thinking that you all liking me is going to determine whether or not I'm provided for. Mm-hmm. And if you believe that you need another person in that level for a long time, it would be hard to tell that person the truth. Unless you really feel like you really connected to Source, you won't tell that person the truth because you think you could lose your security. Mm-hmm. So if you think if a person who knows they're sustained by God is not a people pleaser. That's somebody that's going to be totally in integrity. They're going to tell you how to feel. You know how it is when you're through with somebody and you're ready to get rid of them and you tell them what you really think.
Yeah.
You know, it's like at the end you'll go, well, let me tell you what I really thought about your course. You know, not that this happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about. You know. So if you get in that place where you feel like you'll be taken care of no matter what, then, and you truly place your future in the hands of God, then you can tell because you will have no anxiety. And then I walk up to you with some water and you say, I can't accept that water because it's in the glass and I only accept water in cups. That's the same as saying, I can't study the Course in Miracles because it uses Christian and masculine terminology. So even though the content, the water, could save me and open up miracles in my life beyond my wildest imagination, because it's in the Christian terminology, I don't want to drink that water. That's how insane that is. And it's also, to me, sort of like a test to see how serious a person is too. It's when you'll be willing to go beyond your own resistance to get the gifts that are offered. So I want to thank you. And on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, I do Facebook Live on the Earl Purdy page. That is the Way of Mastery. Those of you who are familiar with the Way of Mastery, it's another powerful channel teaching. And on Thursday nights, I do Hardcore Course in Miracles. For those students who already know they want to study the course and want to take advantage of my almost 40 years of obsession with it, I love to talk to people about that. And then Sundays, this is when the cool people are sitting in the room and the cool people online, right? And we getting it together. So one thing I heard today that I would like to remember is, anybody?
I can transcend any fear by choice.
You can do what?
I can transcend any fear by choice.
I can transcend, and it's not saying this that you're not going to go through the stages of still occasionally feeling the fear while you're beginning to learn how to let go of the fear. Readiness is not mastery. Readiness is not mastery. Just because I say I'm ready doesn't mean I've mastered how to do it. Anybody else?
It's the way I perceive things and my perception that's leading to my exhaustion and overwhelm.
That's right. My distorted perceptions is making me tired. That's what you said to person one day. My distorted perceptions of you just really got me tired of you right now. I just want you to know. Right now. Anybody else?
Seek and you'll find. That's what it reminded me of in the first paragraph.
Yes. Seek and you will find. You're going to find what you're looking for. And what you see is what you do believe. Don't forget that. Anybody else?
Those who want to see love will see love.
So if what?
So if you want to see love, we'll see it.
That's why I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as my beliefs change, my experience will change. And so I have to be willing to even say things I don't believe
That's right.
first.
That's right. Say, you know, like you're absolutely perfect, whole, beautiful, and complete.
I am innocent.
You did
Right?
too,
So I
totally.
can say that, and
That's
then
right.
I'll start to experience it more and more.
And that's the purpose of a holy relationship. Of course, if you're going to have a relationship, if you're going to have an intimate relationship, it should be for the purpose of reminding each other of your sinlessness and guiltlessness. And even though you may make mistakes are for loving correction, so that your partner or your close friends should be the main people who don't let you forget how loving and beautiful and appreciated you are. It should not be the ones who are judging you, criticizing you, and condemning you, which is what a lot of people use special love relationships for, is to make themselves feel bad because their partner is always judging them or condemning them. So if you love yourself, then you are not going to allow yourself to be in a relationship that's verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive. And nobody has to convince you that because a natural result of loving yourself is feeling like you don't deserve to be mistreated. That's just a natural byproduct of beginning to love yourself. Demola.
Whatever I desire mostly is what I'm going to create in my experience.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So the court says everything can be reduced to what you do believe you do see. So take a breath. What you believe you do see. What I believe I 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 do see. And experience leads to beliefs. Experience leads to beliefs. Experience leads to beliefs. My experience leads to beliefs. Beliefs determine perception. 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 That's why I like to say I am entitled to miracles. I appreciate you, mighty companions. Thank you for coming. Even if, don't forget, you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it. Just begin to welcome it.
Individual sections.
Hugs are available. Hugs are available. And don't forget, Megan, you want to make an announcement?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so after this, around 3 o'clock, I'm going to be having the monthly tea in Thoreau. And so it's right down the street over off like MLK and York Street. And so if you want that address, it goes from like 3 to 6 or 7.